All right, we're about to unpack a story with absolutely massive global implications. This is an explainer on the initial reports from Fox News, and we're going to break down the claims surrounding the alleged assassination of Iran's supreme leader. So let's get right into what the source material is saying.
Wow. It really doesn't get much more direct than this, does it? The absolute core of the story is this explosive claim that Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is dead. And according to the report, he was killed in an Israeli airstrike. This is the bombshell that sets the stage for everything else we're about to discuss.
So you're probably asking, where's this information coming from? Well, the report attributes the confirmation directly to a senior Israeli official. That's a really key detail to keep in your mind as we go through this, because it frames the entire narrative that follows.
Okay, to really understand just how big of a deal this is, we need to talk about who the supreme leader is and the kind of power he actually has.
Yeah, this is not just some ceremonial rule. The report really emphasizes that the Ayatollah has the final say on, well, everything in Iran. We're talking from their nuclear program to their entire military strategy. Taking him out of the picture, it's like knocking the king off the chessboard. It just fundamentally changes the entire game.
So, how did this all reportedly go down? Let's take a look at the details of the military operation, at least as they're described in the report. We are talking about a massive, massive show of force. The report claims 200 Israeli fighter jets were involved. A mix of F-35s, F-15s, and F-16s. This apparently makes it the biggest air operation in Israel's history. That number alone just signals an incredible level of planning and intent.
And it wasn't just a single target. No, those jets reportedly hit 500 different locations all across Iran. This was a huge, coordinated attack that seems designed to strike right at the heart of the regime's infrastructure, not just one surgical strike.
So what was the game plan here? According to the report, it looks like Israel had two main things they were trying to do at the exact same time. One, take out Iran's leadership in what's called a decapitation strike, and two, simultaneously stop a wave of ballistic missile attacks that were reportedly already on their way.
So how on earth did we get here? The report paints a picture of a diplomatic breakdown that pretty quickly escalated into this all-out conflict.
The report, and it cites the U.S. official here, suggests that the Trump administration actually tried to make a deal, especially about the nuclear program. But apparently those talks just slammed into a brick wall. The claim is that Iran wasn't willing to meet what the administration called reasonable demands, and that led the U.S. and Israel to decide that a military option was really the only path left to neutralize what they saw as a threat that was about to boil over.
The report frames this military action as part of a peace-through-strength strategy. You've probably heard that phrase before. The core idea is that by showing overwhelming force and proving you're willing to use it, you can deter your enemies and maybe, just maybe, prevent an even bigger, more drawn-out war. It's a way of trying to create stability through power.
Now, this isn't just a story about Iran. To get the full picture, you really have to zoom out and look at its network of powerful allies across the region.
The report points to two key players in Iran's network. You've got Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthi militants down in Yemen. And look, these aren't just small groups. They're incredibly powerful forces, armed and funded by Iran, that basically act as extensions of its will. That's why you often hear them called proxies. They let Iran fight and project power without always having to use its own soldiers directly. And here's where things get really, really dangerous. The report says Hezbollah drew a very clear red line. If the supreme leader was touched, they were all in. That single threat just dramatically raises the stakes, with the potential to turn a conflict between two countries into a massive region-wide war.
So, even if these strikes did manage to cripple Iran's own military, the threat is far from over. I mean, look at the dynamic here. The report stresses that proxies like Hezbollah still have a massive arsenal. An intelligence official is cited saying, "We're talking about thousands of rockets and advanced missiles that can still reach deep into Israeli cities. The proxy threat is still very much on the table."
So what's next? The report lays out a few possibilities for where this could all go from here, and none of them are simple.
I mean, with the leader reportedly gone, the single biggest question is just who's in charge now? A power vacuum in a country like Iran, especially right in the middle of a conflict, well, that's a potential recipe for absolute chaos.
But here's a really interesting twist. The report suggests Iran was actually ready for this. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, apparently had a whole succession plan ready to go for their top leaders because they knew they were targets. This kind of implies the regime isn't just one man, but a deep, resilient institution. So this might not be the final knockout blow it seems to be. It might just be the start of a brand new and very unpredictable chapter.
So, it feels like we're at a crossroads. The report lays out two possible futures, as you can see here. The first is just continued war, with more strikes against a weakened Iran. The second is what they call a diplomatic off-ramp. President Trump has hinted that a deal could end this quickly, but whether that's even possible after an attack like this is a huge, huge question mark.
And that's really the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Is this reported event the catalyst that totally reshapes the entire Middle East, or is it just the spark that sets the whole region on fire? Based on these initial reports, the situation is balanced on a knife's edge, and that uncertainty, well, that might be the most dangerous thing of all.